Hi, everybody. My name is Nick PHAN, and I am the artistic director of Collaborative Arts Institute of Chicago. And welcome to tonight's episode of Heard Over the Piano. Before we begin, I just need to make a little holiday appeal to you. This holiday season, CAIC has this amazing matching grant opportunity, and thanks to one of our generous donors this year, any new donor's contribution will be matched dollar for dollar. And for donors who already give to CAIC, this match will match every dollar, any increase in giving this year, dollar for dollar as well. So thanks to the generosity of our Giving Tuesday donors, we actually already, as of Tuesday, have reached half of our $5,000 holiday campaign match goal. So thank you so much to everybody for helping us get off to this really strong start. But if you haven't had a chance already, as you consider your year-end giving this year, please keep CAIC in mind, and just know that if you do and are able to give to CAIC this year in your year-end giving and during the holidays, your contribution will have double the impact. So thank you so much for thinking about that. I'm going to put the link in the comments. Speaking of the comments, if you guys have any questions today, for our guests, please shoot them in the comments, or if you notice any audio difficulties or technical difficulties with the magic of live Zoom things, just shoot those in the comments. I'm keeping an eye on those, and I will do my best to address them as best that I can in the moment. So without further ado, I would love to invite our guests today, Yi-HENG and KARIM. Hi, guys.
Hi, Nick.
How are you?
Doing well.
So the reason you guys are here today is because your Leader Lounge recital is tomorrow. So we're really excited about that. I was really excited to watch you guys do it as you filmed. I thought you guys sounded fantastic, and I'm excited to share this with everybody. But since this is both of your first appearances with CAIC, I just wondered if we could start off with sort of basics, like tell us your life story. Where are you from? How did you get into music? That kind of thing. So Yi-HENG, would you like to go first?
Sure. Thanks so much for having me, Nick. And KARIM and I had such an amazing time working on this concert that's coming on tomorrow night. How did I get into music? I grew up in New Jersey, and my parents are scientists, but they loved classical music. They came from Taiwan to this country about 40 years ago. And my dad had this amazing LP collection where he collected actually lots of Schubert Lieder, of Dietrich Fischer-Dieskau. And I grew up just looking at that stuff and eventually listened to it as a teenager. Cute little stories that my dad, when he came over here from Taiwan, had to pick an English name, and he chose Schubert because he thought it sounded like Schubert. So maybe it was fate. But Schubert became one of my favorite composers as I got into classical music, and playing this stuff, his wonderful Lieder with an amazing singer like KARIM is like a dream for me. So that's one little story from my musical childhood. But like lots of Asian American kids growing up, music was something that was valued and studied. So I took violin, I took piano, I played the bassoon and the oboe in my public school band. I played bass drum in the high school marching band. I liked everything about it. I tried everything. I sang in the choir. But then eventually I was only good at one instrument, which was the piano, really. So I was able to take that a little further, and then went to Juilliard and was lucky enough to keep going with it. And here I am, still doing it now.
Amazing. So KARIM, what about your story? Tell us your story.
I grew up in Chicago, Illinois. So it was really nice for me to get to finally do something with you guys. So I was happy about that. I grew up, I started playing the violin when I was 3, because I asked my parents for a violin and they were like, okay. And I played almost all the way through high school, but at the same time, I was also singing at the Chicago Children's Choir. And it just kind of, singing was what was for me, you know? What else do I need to say? I went to the Eastman School of Music. I went to Rice University. I've known Nick PHAN for years, and let's see what else. Yeah, now I just kind of sing around, guys. I don't know.
So singing has been part of your life since the beginning, really. You and didn't you make like a really impressive debut as a child with the CSO and stuff? Like,
it depends on what you call impressive, but
I think that's impressive.
I was sort of, well, I was handpicked by George Solti to do the solos in Damnation of Faust with the little angel kid solo at the very end of it. But that was so long ago. I mean, I said George Solti, so everybody knows that it was so long ago now. But yeah, that was, I think that was my first appearance with them as a kid, but I did a couple more. And all of that was because of Chicago Children's Choir. I mean, they sort of, you know, that's a network where all the organizations in the area kind of drew from. And so when they needed kid soloists, they would either come to us or to the Glen Ellen Children's Chorus, but we were better. So yeah, I did that, but I did a lot of fun stuff when I was a kid. So I've always been kind of singing at a very amazing, like, at an amazing level to offer me a lot of incredible learning experiences when I was young, so that when I really started doing it, like once my voice changed and went through all the ups and downs of education and all of that stuff, that I felt very well equipped going into the real world as a singer, because I had such amazing experiences when I was a kid.
Incredible. And you've got this like lifelong relationship with this orchestra now, right? I mean, weren't you just with them for Mass recently?
Yeah, and that was my debut with them as a tenor. So that was kind of fun. Like and the Chicago Children's Choir was in that production. So it was like all kind of full circle, and I'd be in tears because I felt like I was like, oh, I remember what this all was like, and these kids were so amazing, and I just remember that I was one of those kids back then, and then there were two soloists from the choir that had like hefty solos in Mass, and I was like, that was me. Incredible. It was pretty emotional, I have to say.
Incredible.
Yeah.
It's amazing how music sticks with us for a lifetime. I cannot believe, YI-HENG, your story about Schubert as a child. I mean, that's really incredible. So since we're talking about that, let's talk about your program. Yeah. So do you guys who wants to tell us about the program that people are going to hear this weekend?
I can, if you want. We can both talk about it.
Yeah, we'll both talk.
We're both very deeply connected to it. We released an album in March called Where Only Stars Can Hear Us. YI-HENG is an amazing modern pianist, but she's also an incredible forte pianist. And I don't want to speak for you, but she specializes in forte piano performance.
Yes, I do.
Historical performance. And we met a few years ago doing a concert where we did Schubert Lieder, and I always kind of had bucket list goals of doing a Schubert album, even though there is no lack of Schubert albums out there. But I always wanted to do one because I feel a deep connection to Schubert, and I know YI-HENG does as well, and it's very apparent in her playing. When we met after we finished that concert, I was like, we should do an album. And I had just released, or was about to release, my first album. Is that right? I was about to release it, or something like that.
I don't remember.
I think I was finishing it, or I hadn't even yet recorded it, maybe. I don't
You may have you were about to record it that summer of 2017.
So. Yeah.
Songs
okay.
of Orpheus.
So, yes. Yeah. And so, I already knew that I had to have the next one in the works, and for me it was going to be a Schubert album, and so we did it, and we devised this program together, and we're really proud of it, and we love it, and it sort of serves as another kind of song cycle. It takes inspiration from Schubert's cycles that he actually wrote, but pulling from other songs and making our own collection to offer people consolation in their darkness and in their sadness, which is what this album is all about, and what the program is all about, is addressing people's darker sides and helping them find the light out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this album has been one of the most meaningful projects for me artistically in my whole career, I have to say. KARIM is just this amazing partner. We're like, as we keep laughing about, we were kind of randomly met and didn't know each other that well, but we connected instantly through Schubert and through Lieder, and KARIM he instantly recognized, the types of things that I loved about playing the forte piano and Schubert. And I felt so fortunate that we found each other this way. And this album, Where Only Stars Can Hear Us, has themes that draw themes from nature, like water and nighttime, the stars. And it's been a really personal journey. It was to put it together, but then it was released last March, really right when COVID hit New York City, and then the rest of the country and the world. And then we all went into this isolation, and it was springtime, and we were stuck at home. And those of us who were lucky enough to see trees outside, we watched the spring come up during this bizarre time of isolation. And this album started to grow in meaning for me, and I think for a lot of people who started listening to it, who were also being thrown into this forced isolation, and all you had were trees around you. You couldn't see people, you couldn't do what you used to do. And this poetry became really real to me, KARIM, and I, even after we recorded. So yeah, it's a really special program that we got to perform again and for this weekend. So yeah.
So can we just talk a bit about the forte piano, because just in case there are people listening who don't know what it is, for everybody who is listening, we at CAIC tried our damnedest to get a forte piano. It seems that the only forte piano that's appropriate for Schubert has moved to Palm Springs, of all places. So that is a shame. So we're going to hear this. Oh, hi, Noah. We're going to hear this on... Amazing. We're going to hear this on a modern piano. But it still sounds amazing on a modern piano, and you played it amazingly on a modern piano. A beautiful Steinway, the Arts Club of Chicago, who are our co-presenters for this. But Yi-Heng, could you talk to us a little bit about, what are the differences between a modern piano and a forte piano, the main ones?
Well, the forte piano is, it's something I really love, because it brings out the color and intimacy of music like Schubert and Mozart and Beethoven. It's smaller because pianos pre-Brahms basically were not designed for giant concert halls with thousands of people. That was sort of an industrial age phenomenon when the middle class started having money. They could afford to go to concerts, they could afford to buy their own pianos. So piano making became industrialized and streamlined, and pianos just got really big so that they could fill giant concert halls like Carnegie Hall or the Royal Albert Hall in London. But before that, pianos were built for the drawing room or for, palace chambers, for intimate listening. And when you think of music that's so tied to speech, like Schubert, or music of even before that, like Mozart or Haydn, it's tied to speaking. There's a kind of art of persuasion, even in non-verbal music, instrumental music. And the forte piano does that so well. It articulates phrases. And then they were designed to have a different color in every part of the keyboard. So like there are descriptions of how people wanted to make pianos where the soprano register, the right hand register, should sound like a flute, a silvery tone, or a violin, and the alto or the middle register, the middle C part, should sound like a French horn or a viola. The left hand, when you start going down to the tenor range, should sound like a bassoon, etc. So they conceived of the instrument as an orchestra, and you really have different colors, diversity of colors. And for me, that's what I love working with on earlier instruments. And as compared to the modern piano, which I love too, it has a round, luscious tone. It's powerful. It can match an orchestra, a symphony in a huge symphony hall. But the sound is basically equally and similarly beautiful for all 88 keys. Whereas early pianos, you get a variety. So that's the basic reason why it works so well for intimate music, like Schubert Lieder, or for Mozart sonatas, chamber music. And yeah, I'm an avid collector. I studied in Europe, went around the world, have been lucky enough to play lots of instruments that really highlight this repertoire that we love in a different way.
That's so interesting that the forte piano and earlier pianos, it's like they're designed to have color, and it's so funny because modern pianists are constantly trying to conjure color with the instrument. And
yes,
you know, it's like what you're describing means that the instrument does that for you in a way, which
exactly. I feel like as a graduate student, when I discovered the forte piano, it worked really well with me because I'm so lazy. You know, I don't want to spend hours slaving away trying to conjure color from a modern piano. You know, when I sit down at a Mozart piano, it just does it for me, you know, and that has to, and also the balance of different voices between the hands. You know, you can bring out the beauty of a left hand accompaniment without drowning out the right hand. And they can play together and make music, and I don't have to practice it. I just let it happen.
Well, I want to say something, because Nick, now you are like a witness to her doing it on modern piano, and like how much color does she bring out of that monster that we did?
Oh, thank you.
I mean, it's like, I don't know. I wouldn't say you're lazy. I think you're just gifted.
Oh, Karim. I think you bring it out of me.
You managed a 9-foot Steinway beautifully. Like it sounded incredible.
Thank you. Well, I love those pianos, and the Arts Club has a beautiful Hamburg Steinway. Yeah, there's plenty of color there.
Yeah. So how did you just, like you said, you discovered it in graduate school. Did you just kind of stumble upon a room and see like, what is this instrument, or did someone talk to you about it, or?
Yeah, when I was a doctoral student at Juilliard, there was a course offered where there was like an intro to the instrument. And so I took that class, and this was, again, I guess I'm dating myself, but no one had heard of the forte piano when I was at Juilliard. Now there's a flourishing early music program there. And, but yeah, there was a Lonely Mozart forte piano copy by Chris Mano, who's a living forte piano maker who copies forte pianos that are in the style of Mozart. So that was sitting in the corner in the little room at school, and nobody touched it. So I just sat down and started reading Mozart and Beethoven, and like hearing it for the first time, you know, after having gone through all of these degrees where I was supposed to. I never really got Beethoven, never really spoke to me, like his dynamics, his accents, until it was so natural. You know, that the keyboard is much lighter. The articulation's just right. You can understand why he marked the music the way he did, why he was looking for really powerful contrasts. There's a quickness and responsiveness to earlier pianos also that is really exciting. So, yeah.
Right, and it makes something like Earl King a little bit more manageable, I would imagine.
Yes, yes.
The action bounces back, right? I mean, it's...
Yes, yes, yes. So I I was able to do the Earl King on a beautiful Schubert copy for our album. It was loaned to me generously by Malcolm Bilson at Cornell University. It's a Simone 1830 Viennese forte piano, and it has a really super fast light action. So those repeated octaves, if you don't know, all pianists know about how difficult that is. You know, again, I'm lazy. It helped me.
I was gonna say, no, you made, it was so clear and so beautiful, and I can't wait for everybody to hear this tomorrow on the 9-foot. So I mean, bravo. But that was just an interesting thing for me to learn the other day while we were chatting over the recording session. And Karim, have you done a lot with forte piano? I mean, I know you've done a lot of really...
No, I hadn't until I met YI-HENG. And what was amazing to me, and I write this in the notes for the album, is that, you know, what dawned on me is while we worked on that instrument at that first concert and then continued to work, the forte piano becomes a third person in the room. It becomes a third interpreter in a way, because you hear these old sounds, and it's not stealthy. If that's the word that I like to use for it. It's like you hear the creaking of the wood, and you hear the strings, and you hear all that stuff, and you also hear how the registers shift. And it's almost as if, what I say in the notes is as if you're with a ghost of the time, like kind of telling you these are how these songs go. It was very, very helpful in a way for me to, like, I don't know, it was really beautiful to delve into that sound world and to explore not just the sounds that I was hearing, but to be able to respond with my voice, because I like to play with my voice. You know, I like to be very attentive to text and make sounds that might not be pretty if a word isn't pretty, you know. And so for me it was really rewarding and super fun, honestly, to be able to explore my own voice I mean, obviously with YI-HENG's incredible interpretations as well, and her support and her leading at times, and all of, you know, but also this third party that I never really thought of a modern piano in that way. So that was fun, because it's like YI-HENG said, like, pianists playing on a modern instrument are always trying to find the colors, right? But here you have an instrument that is so clearly colorful. And so it's just kind of fun to immerse yourself in it, and to play, and to experiment, and to bask in it.
It allows you, I mean, it's funny, I always think it allows more flexibility too, right? Like you say, you can play more and you have more freedom to play, because there's also something about the sound to me that provides a little bit more transparency, because it's somewhat clearer, and just as a default it tends to be clearer. And like you were saying, YI-HENG, there's some more intimacy to it. And it's funny doing these sort of late romantic, like Schubert, Beethoven pieces on modern instruments. I mean, of course it's beautiful and it's fun to do, but there's something about it that always feels extra taxing. And it's not just because you're 10 cents higher at A = 440. It's also because there's like a relentlessness to these modern instruments that are designed to fill big halls, like you were saying. And so everybody like has to go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Karim was saying you can hear the wood creaking. I mean, the piano, it's such a thing to keep it in tune during recordings. It's like a living diva there on stage with us. It was more of a diva than either of us, and it was, you know, the strings and the sweat and the wood, but when you're singing with it, your instrument is organic, completely organic as singers, and you have with the, you know, more, there's less metal in an early Viennese Schubert piano. There's more wood. The hammers are made of real leather. Everything about it, it's a little more organic, and it just blends with your instrument. And you feel that, and you have that freedom to play because you're not fighting something so big.
Yeah. There's I don't know. It's the album is gorgeous, and I mean, so was the live thing that we filmed the other day. Going back to the program, you were talking about your notes, Karim. So we didn't include the forte piano note because there's no forte piano in the program booklet. But the program booklet is actually online already, everybody who's watching, and I'm putting that also in the comments right here. So you can have a glance and see what they're going to do tomorrow. And also, I would encourage you to read Karim's notes. But you guys were talking about sort of how this resonates, these texts resonate today, and I kind of would love to hear more of your thoughts about that. I mean, I just want to quote your notes, Karim, because they're so well written, but you write, with this program, Yi-HENG and I wanted to create our own song cycle of sorts, honoring the composer and the feelings of so many who struggle in darkness. Everyone seems to be grappling in some way with what it means to find true connection in a time when we are so connected digitally, but cut off from one another in real time. I mean, did you have a crystal ball when you were writing this? Like,
Karim, your prophet hair and beard are really. He has this, look of an Old Testament person right now. But yeah, it's remarkably prescient. I think Karim, he goes outside the bounds sometimes in the way he looks at music. It's not about a historical style or correctness. He connects with the audience. He brings out meaning and makes it relevant. And he did write these notes before the pandemic hit, and lo and behold, we find ourselves here, isolated from one another and longing for connection. Having to live our lives in a completely different way. And this music, I know, the cycle has told the story through Schubert in a way. Yeah, that's so uncanny.
I mean,
it's I think another huge thing that I want people to take away from it is that we all get sad sometimes, and we tend not to talk about it. And I think part of this phenomenon, this digital phenomenon that we're living in right now, is people showing their best face. And you scroll through people's Instagrams and it's like, Facetune galore. I mean, I wish I could do it because I look so crazy as I just caught a glimpse of myself on my screen. But it's, I think that people tend not to talk about their sadness or their struggles. And my wish is to say, we all have that. We all carry that at different, in different levels at different points of our lives. And it's okay to feel that way. It's okay to, we all go through it, and it's okay. And there are ways out of it. And the ways out of it are in front of us if we choose to see it. And there's also, it's okay to sit in your sadness as well if you don't feel like following that light outside, that's all.
Yeah, it's so important right now to have that empathy, to remember that when you're struggling alone, that it's okay, other people are struggling. And just to not to bring us to a totally dark place, but Karim and I both also experienced a lot of loss this summer. I lost my younger brother to cancer, and Karim lost his father. And this music just added another layer of realness for us. What Karim is saying, for him to be able to say that now, he really means that. You can hear that in the music. He's singing from deep inside, and he's offered a lot of comfort through this music. So yeah, it's good.
It's something that is so special about both of you is the way you're such honest performers. And I feel like the term you know, kind of gets thrown around a lot as a sort of cheap way of describing somebody, but as a performer or as an artist. But actually, I think it's something that's quite special, and it's very rare. I mean, watching you guys film this as we were putting this together the other day, it was, I mean, it was extraordinarily moving to see you just be willing to go there emotionally. And the program you've assembled is, you know, it's not a light emotional lift.
Very good.
Well,
Everybody buckle up.
It's beautiful. You got a couple of people sending you love here on the comments. Myra Huang is saying hi. She says the intimacy and vulnerability of this album is astounding and gorgeous. Love your artistry. And then Abe Hunter is also saying he loves this album. He purchased the physical disc so he can enjoy it in high fidelity. So congrats, you guys. You sold an actual CD, which who knew that even happened?
We sold a bunch, actually.
It's great. And Cynthia Roberts also says hi.
Oh, hi,
Cynthia. Hello, Cynthia.
You guys, if in the Facebook area world, you know, please again just shoot questions in the comments if you have any. Do you think there was? I mean, there's something about Schubert where I feel like he has, and you write about this, Karim, and he has a unique ability to kind of sit with the complexity of emotion.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I mean, I like I say again, like I say in my notes, that he has that uncanny ability to capture so much emotion in one sound. And you know, he'll set four different verses of text to the same melody and the same harmonies. And somehow each verse that says completely different things, you're getting the exact emotion and the exact, like, you're getting everything that the poet is saying in that same sound, from verse 1 to verse 2 to verse 3 to verse 4. And it's unbelievable that, you know, he can set joy on one verse and then sadness at the same spot in the next verse, and it sounds like joy and sadness. And I don't know of anybody else who's really able to do that. There's just a depth to his writing, and the weird thing is that sometimes it's so simple, but the depth becomes like, I mean, you just well with the complexity of emotions that he presents and that he's able to tap into. And that's why I think he's so fascinating, because he lived such a short time. And here's somebody who is just clearly so tormented at times in his life, in his short life, obviously, and just honestly understood life through his music, and brought so much understanding for us through music. You know, I mean, I don't know. I get kind of emotional when I think about Schubert. I mean, as one should, I think, but it's really uncanny.
Yeah, there's so much one can say. Sorry.
Go ahead. No, say it, please. Say
no,
it.
I mean, I totally hear you, Karim, and Schubert really changed my life when I was like this angsty undergrad in college. I'm like, why am I doing this? Who am I? All these existential things. I found Schubert. I was lucky that a professor pointed me in the direction of Winterreise. I really lived in the cycles, and man, it was so real, and it was okay to walk this line between feeling okay and not okay, between what's real and what I see and what I feel, another layer of reality. And yeah, I don't know how he does it. Maybe it's because he grew up singing in choir as a boy soprano. Like, he can take a simple chord and embody different shades of meaning every time. It's like he makes space for the emotion. He's not like Beethoven, where Beethoven wills and pounds emotion into music, into harmony and pieces. But like Schubert just makes these spaces, and then the poetry starts like living in it and changing and transforming in it. it's really cool.
And he clearly has, yeah, and he clearly has the idea of the entire poem, all the strophes that come with the poem. He has that idea in every, you know, he completes the idea from the get-go. It's over before it starts in a way, but then at the same time, there's so much to discover as you go through it. It's really incredible.
It's a testament to his genius.
Yeah.
We have two questions from Frank and Abe, which are actually, it's the same question, but it's for both of you, which is, are you fluent in German? And if not, what do you do to best understand the subtleties of the text, especially in these strophic songs?
Well, I'll go first. I have a short, oh, sorry. I am not fluent in German. I studied a little bit, but you know, I come to this project and playing with Karim not as a full-time collaborative pianist who works solely with singers. I do all kinds of things, but I must say, when I play with Karim, his German is so beautiful, and the way that he sings the beginnings of words and the ends of words, even though I may not be quick enough, I try to study the poetry and the German. The way he does it is so musical in itself that I'm able to take cues from that in what I do with the piano part. So that's
great. That's great. I mean, that's a testament to the importance of initial consonants. Karim.
I am not fluent in German. I can get by. Whenever I'm in Germany, I can get by, but I wouldn't say that I'm fluent by any stretch of the imagination. But I have been studying this poetry for a very long time now. And I am not shy about asking German speakers to speak through poetry with me. And to, whenever I meet a native German speaker, I talk to them about this poetry specifically. You know, I've been really lucky that in my education, I've had incredible German teachers, and you know, they're just they are able to help me see understand meanings of words that as a non-native speaker I would get. And so if you have a word like gedeiht, I'll never forget when I sang Sternennächte for Ulrike Shapiro at Marlborough. She taught me about the word gedeiht, which is like this way of saying like preciously blooming. You know, it's like, but there's no word in English, but it's this word in German that, you know, and the Germans have incredible words for so many things. So, you know, it's really important to get in deep so that you get it, because otherwise don't do it, you know, but.
Right. No, I mean, this music is so inspired by the poetry. You have to do that work that you're doing. That's amazing. Do you guys have favorites out of this program? Favorite moments?
Yeah, I have favorite. I mean, they're all amazing. They really are all amazing songs. I think he was an incredible songwriter. But for me, Das Fisches Liebesglück was a must on this program. And it was like, it was just a must. And I think it's one of his greatest songs because it's so, I mean, it's epic. It's over 7 minutes long. It's completely strophic. But my God, I don't feel like you feel like it is when you hear it. And it's so incredible. And I mean, the title of the album comes from a line of poetry from that song, because I just feel like that song is, I mean, there's just so much to it. I could go on and on about that song for a long time, and I won't, but it embodies the point of this album. It embodies the point of the program. The uncertainty of life, the joy of life, the horror of life and love, and all of our emotions, and it's just an incredible, incredible, incredible song. So I love that one, and I love Der Winter Abend too. I think that's an amazing song.
Also an amazing song.
Also 1,000 minutes long.
Yi-Heng?
Yeah, I think Karim. Yeah. This Fischer's Liebesglück is magical. It's like I enter into this state of hypnosis when Karim starts, going through the verses, and it's quite the journey. And Winterabend also is also one of my favorites. It describes something I always felt, and I never found, a picture for it in literature other than in this song, this poetry about just sitting in your room in solitude and feeling total contentment and fullness, that time is still for a moment, you're alone, and you're not afraid to be alone, you're happy. And that really depicts something of what it's like to be an artist, because we need solitude to grow, but we also need, of course, to be out there and perform and work and communicate. But for me, that's a picture of why I, those moments when I get to learn music and study music or make music. So I love that song very much. Yeah.
It's a pretty sacred.
But they're all
amazing.
They're all really good. I mean, like, they're all good.
There's a lesser known song called "The Father and His Child" that Karim pairs with the Erlkönig, which is very beautiful, and I'd say that's one of my favorites too. It's a really nice counterbalance to that. I have to say,
I thought that was a genius move, putting those two back to back. I mean, both about fathers with their children.
Thank you.
You're welcome. One is certainly happier than the other. And so you describe this as a song cycle. I mean, we broke it up into sets for this. But is there like a narrative or that goes through, or is it mostly like thematically connected and emotionally connected?
I think it's more thematic. It's not necessarily that we're telling we are kind of telling a story. I mean, but it's a lot more abstract than something like Schöne Müllerin, which is like a story, or Winterreise, which is a story, like a reflection of that lost love and moving forward into the end, right? But this was about starting a journey and seeking. It starts with Lied eines Schiffes an die Dioskuren, and which is, a prayer on the sea of a sailor to say, get me to shore safely, and if you do, I will honor you with the oar that took me there, and a prayer to those stars that would guide him, and so we sort of set sail on this journey of discovery, and sitting with our solitude, sitting with our sadness, and discovering ourselves throughout the journey, and having the moon and the stars light our way and light our path and show us the ways out. And sometimes we take those ways out and sometimes we don't. And so it's a cycle in the sense that it's sort of offering, because one of my jobs, I think, as an artist in this time is to kind of not treat classical music as this museum piece kind of thing anymore, and to try to bring some relevance into what we experience in the present day, but using these masterworks as a way of connecting, right? Connecting to the past and connecting to our present. And so what this becomes then is just an offering to do that, if that makes sense. I don't know if I just made sense, or if I just...
No, it makes total sense. I think that it's again, this is, everybody I think was going to see this when they see you guys sing and play tomorrow, but there's something very evident about the way you both clearly view this, like the act of performing as an offering, and like the program as an offering to the world at large. It is an extremely generous program, not just because it's 70 minutes of songs, but it's the emotional content in them is real, and it is deep, and it is multi-layered. And I think that that kind of openness is, you have to become approaching it as an offering. Otherwise it comes across as, either it doesn't come across, or if it does come across, it doesn't come across as real. It comes across as sort of fake and surfacey. And you guys are the opposite of that. You're the real thing. There's something also about that that kind of ties to something else you wrote in your notes towards the beginning. And you wrote, Schubert shied away from the concert halls in which his contemporary Beethoven, with big and bold sounds, was thriving. Schubert opted for intimate gatherings, which came to be known as Schubertiade. Here in these salons, people would come to witness the pleasure and pain that Schubert, a master melding of text and music, could toss off so effortlessly. No doubt a glimpse into the composer's struggles through his life that was taken from him and from us far too early. First of all, beautifully written.
Thank you.
And there was something that you said on our last episode of this panel discussion.
The songs are for everybody.
Yes, and I would love for you to talk about them more, because that also, I mean, you started when you were talking about needing to make a Schubert album, about saying that there's no lack of Schubert albums, which that's true, but at the same time that also means that there's no lack of ways to interpret them, and no lack of viewpoints. And so, I mean, please talk about that more.
I mean that's exactly right. And I think, you know, we're done a disservice by saying you have to listen to Fischer-Dieskau. I mean, yes, absolutely listen to Fischer-Dieskau, but he's not the only person that was allowed to sing these songs. And if you go back to where these songs were done first and where they were heard first, they were amateurs or the best of the best at the time. And it was both, doing these songs in those people's homes. And if you think about it that way, that means that everybody should be able to sing these songs. And so that means that everybody should be able to do a Schubert album if they want to, you know, and shouldn't be dissuaded from doing it just because there are so many. Because I think that the discovery is inexhaustible, because it's so personal. And if you are a vulnerable, open person, which I try to be, and I try to be when I sing, and I know YI-HENG is when she plays, and if you are that, then what you are bringing to these songs is something that nobody else can do, because it's yours. And it's, you know, and I think that that's how these songs were meant to be. You know, people's poetry associations are so different from person to person to person. And yes, there are symbols of the Lindenbaum and all of that stuff, but a tree can bring up something for me that it would bring up something different for you guys, you know? And my associations with that tree, that specific breed of tree, what is it, a breed? No, species?
Type, species,
Type.
Sure. Kind of tree.
But that specific tree is different for me than it is for you. And it brings up things in me that it doesn't bring up for you. And that makes me make a sound that you wouldn't make as an interpreter, right? Which is not to say that my way of doing it is right or wrong, it's just mine. And I think that we all should be approaching our music that way.
Yeah, I totally agree.
100%. We got another question here from Frank, and I have to say this is a good one, because he's like climbed into my head and asked my next question for me. The two of you have magnificent chemistry together. What's your next collaborative project? So do you guys...
Well, we're talking about it. We have a couple things, maybe. I mean, I would honestly dream. I would love to do Schönemellerin with YI-HENG. So we're talking about that, and we're talking about maybe something a little bit more eclectic, maybe Beethoven, Haydn, Mozart, Lieder. We don't know. And why not both? Why not all? Why not all of it? You know, so. You know, there's a lot of stuff to discover, and we're excited about it for sure.
Yep, can't wait.
That'd be amazing. And yeah, no, amen. Do it all, please. The world needs it.
with lots of different forte pianos.
Yeah, if anybody out there wants to send a forte piano to Chicago, like we have
apparently the forte pianos, yeah, they've all retired to Palm Springs to stay warm for the winter.
I couldn't believe that. Like, sorry, I've moved to Palm Springs with my forte piano. It's like, oh, okay.
Smart man.
I mean, hey, listen, I totally get it. Chicago winters are no joke.
Just relax.
Well, that's exciting. So, do you guys have any sort of parting thoughts for us? Anything you want to add or chat about that we haven't covered here?
Well, I know that I started saying this, but thanks for having us. I mean, thanks for we released the disc in March, and we did 2 things right around the release when we had more things, but we just couldn't. And so we felt, I won't speak for YI-HENG. I will say that I felt that we almost didn't really get to release the album. It was such a labor of love. It's such an intense program. The recording experience was so intense, and then having to listen to those songs for the following months, like basically this experience of almost a year of living in these emotions and living in this depth. We needed to release it, and we didn't really get a chance to. We almost, like, it almost was like, like this chokehold of real sadness, and then what happened in this world was so sad. And so thanks for letting us do it, because I think it was helpful for us.
I had a wonderful time in Chicago with the both of you there, and getting to play in the Arts Club. Gorgeous setting. So thank you.
Well, thank you both. I mean, I always say this to the artists individually, but our organization is nothing without amazing artists like you to come and do things for us. So we are super, super grateful. Oh my gosh. Charlie Metz is online.
Oh!
He says, here in Palm Springs, my forte piano was very sad he was not in Chicago for you. Great interview. Well, we think you're really smart, and we hope you're enjoying Palm Springs. That's all we can say.
Hello, Charlie, and thank you. And play that beautiful forte piano for me.
I'm so glad that he chimed in and is watching. No, but seriously, we are so grateful that you guys grace us with your presence. I mean, you lift CAIC up to new heights, and the feeling of release is totally palpable in what everybody's going to see this weekend, because it really felt like, I mean, the thing that was amazing about what you guys were doing the other day was it just was like easy one take after easy one take. And so like we were able to really capture the feel of a live thing. And it's clear it's because you guys have lived with this material for so long. And I mean, there's this weird benefit of like, even though everything was, we were all forced to press pause, like I felt like having had there was something about all that material having extra time to marinate that just made it even richer. And so I'm excited for everybody to see that. And so thank you for being so generous with us. And
thank you.
I'm
excited for you all to see it too. I'm excited to see it.
Yeah.
I'm the only one who's seen it.
I think it didn't suck, so we'll see.
No, it's extraordinarily beautiful.
Thanks, Nick.
No, thank you. So everybody who's watching on Facebook right now, please tune in tomorrow at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern if you happen to be on the East Coast, or do your time changes, but 7 p.m. Central tomorrow here on Facebook Live, and also at our website on the broadcast page. It is our final event of the 2020 year, this Lieder Lounge of Schubert Lieder. So thank you so much, both of you, for joining us tonight, and we will see you do your thing tomorrow. And since I'm not going to get a chance to say this tomorrow, thank you so much to the Arts Club of Chicago for partnering with us on this. It was an amazing chance to be able to be in that space and perform this music in a setting in which it really belongs, which is a beautiful salon filled with beautiful art and a place that's dedicated to art. So thank you to the Arts Club of Chicago, and thank you to you guys. And I will be back next week with Jennifer Johnson Kano. We're gonna catch up with her.
Love her.
I know. I'm excited to catch up with her. So we're gonna catch up with her because we're gonna catch up with some people who've been with CAIC in the past and just kind of take some trips down memory lane over the next week. So I will see everybody in a week. But thank you guys, and Facebook, we'll see you soon. Bye, Facebook.
Right. It was a great pleasure. Thanks, Nick.
Thank you.
Bye.